Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you want to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 19 of Once Broken. Alex had almost reached the house when he saw Eric running toward him. The urgency in his body language had been enough to make Alex pick up speed, and before the Somalian spoke, he heard the roar, recognized the anger in it, and didn't stop to listen to Eric's words. The crowd almost stopped him, surprised at the size. He could hear the grunts of a pain, a body fall to the ground. Where had everyone come from? He wondered. He wondered as he pushed his... Actually, if it was dialogue, it would be, but it's not. He wondered as he pushed his way through. Had this been a morning of worship? No, there had been too many people in town. Tristan, stop! He yelled as he broke through in time to see him slam a woman to the ground. A hush fell over everyone. What do you think you're doing? At a glance, he counted a dozen Somalians lying on the ground, clearly alive. The last one was being looked after by an older Somalian, and she didn't look worried. Half of that number stood at the edge of the crowd, multiple cuts on their bodies, those who decided to leave the fighting while they could. Tristan looked at him, then at the woman he was holding down, hand around her neck. If not for how solidly built they were, Alex would worry it would break. She grinned back at Tristan. I'm teaching them what a real fight is like. Tristan looked back at him. Whatever you've been teaching them, that wasn't it. The Somalian, the old man who was standing, coughed and groaned in pain. So you decided trying to kill them was a better way to go about it? Tristan pushed himself to his feet. That's what fighting is, he said, smug. Trying to kill your enemy. The woman extended her hand to him, and Tristan reached out for her to clasp without taking his eye off Alex, and she pulled herself up. What would you have learned if I taught you the way you're teaching them? Alex didn't reply. He was busy trying not to panic at the bleeding cut on Tristan's chest and arms. In his dark fur, the blood hadn't been visible until he stood and the sun shone directly on the wounds. Some of his opponents had been good enough to get in serious strikes. The woman had blood on her claws, and Alex had to force the desire to kill her down. This isn't your job, he snapped at Tristan. What if one of them had managed to cause serious damage? You're supposed to build that wall. He pointed to the partially built structure. Tristan narrowed his eyes. When he spoke, the growl sounded menacing. Do not order me, Alex. Remember your place. Alex stepped to him. My place? He shoved Tristan. Don't you fucking talk about my place when you can't even put me in it. He looked at it for any reaction in Tristan's eyes, but all he saw was worry, fear, concealed under a thin layer of anger. Not until I know you teach them properly. Tristan growled at him. I didn't train you so you'd go easy on anyone else. Go easy? Alex shoved at Tristan, who took a step back. He shouldn't move, shouldn't react to being shoved. He was immovable. You think I want to go easy on them? How hard it was for Alex not to bury his knife in Eric anytime the Somalian convinced him to spar. How he did everything he could not to fight so the temptation wouldn't whisper at him, remind him how good it felt to watch the life drain out of someone's eyes. Unlike you, I don't need to beat someone within an inch of his life to feel like I'm teaching him a lesson. Tristan staggered back, even if this time Alex hadn't touched him. Alex, I never... His voice shook, but it was now in fear. You weren't in danger. I know how much I know how much I can take. Really? Compare notes with Cornelius about that time you almost... Yeah. How much I can take? Really? Care to compare notes with Cornelius about that time you almost killed me? Tristan staggered again, and Alex hated himself for causing the pain he was seeing in his eyes, but there had to be a breaking point somewhere. A point where the pain turned into anger, rage, a point where Alex would fear for his life again, where Tristan would finally wake up. It was only once, Alex. I was angry. I lost control. Tristan was pleading now. No, you don't fucking dare plead. You don't plead. You demand. Does this look like you're in control? He motioned to the injured Somalians. Tristan looked around. They're not you. He hesitated. They don't care. He pointed to the structure. This has to be Alex. Alex pointed to the structure. Go back to your fucking wall. Right back, Alex mentally demanded. Remind me I have no right to order you. Please. Tristan's shoulders slumped. I just want to help. I don't need your fucking help. I need you to beat me. I need you to make me feel a pain I know I'll heal from. I need you back. Tristan didn't come at him. He turned and walked away, defeat in every step he took. I need you to finish that fucking wall so you'll never let me talk to you this way ever again. Don't you get that? Okay, Jacoby said. I think that's it for today. Rig, get people here to see to the injured. Remind everyone to put the power packs in the charger before they leave. People moved, but Alex ignored them. Focus on Tristan's back. When the Somalian reached the wall, he kicked at it like a sullen child. Alex wanted to cry. Alex! He rounded on Jacoby, knife in hand. When it registered, the man had called his name a few times before that. What? He growled. What was that? Jacoby's tone was controlled but angry. I thought we came here to help him get better. This doesn't look like anything resembling that. Alex's hand tightened on the pommel. You think I don't know that? You think this is what I want? What the fuck are you doing to help? Watch the tone, Crimson. This might be your job, but I'm not going to let you talk to me like I'm some second-rate lieutenant. Alex glared at Jacoby, and the man responded in kind, which only made Alex want to stab him. He pushed his anger down and used every trick Tristan taught him to seem sincere. I'm sorry. Hopefully that was enough to get Jacoby to leave him alone. Jacoby sighed. Look, Alex, I know this is screwing with you. You and him have a complicated relationship, and it looks nothing like this. I get that. He looked towards Tristan. I think you need to admit this isn't working. I can have the hover functional before the end of the day. Let's just go home. Cornelius is going to know people who can help. No. Alex, no, he snapped. Didn't the man understand how close he was to being stabbed 100 times over? We're giving him time. This is harder on him than us. He had to believe that. Alex had to believe that Tristan wanted to be better, that all those losses of control were because his nature was at war with what was required of him. Come on. What's so difficult about stacking stones? Have you bothered talking with anyone here? Alex asked. Did you learn anything about them? No. The answer was flat, as if Alex should have known. Somalians are wired differently than us, he said, putting as much conviction into words as he could. It had to be true. They have a core attribute. Tristan's is destruction. Come on, Alex. That's primitive superstition. I get they think that, but there's no way you believe it. Tex built plenty of stuff. He rebuilt Montgomery's water condensers from scratch. Tech is an act. Alex forced himself to let go of the knife. If he continued holding it, it was going to end up in the man's chest. Everything Tristan did back there was to maintain the facade of this friendly Somalian. Everything. Did you pay attention to anything you found in the wreckage? Did you find anything in there that was constructive and not about one of you? Tristan collects weapon. Who does that and doesn't look to cause destruction? Plenty of people collect weapons. How many of them keep them in perfect working order with a fully charged pack in them? How many of them also know everything there is to know about every explosive ever made, about every ship design out there? You don't get it. If it isn't about destroying something, using people, or getting himself out of a jam, Tristan has no interest in it. He pointed to Tristan. And that wall is the most difficult thing he's ever had to do. Jacoby studied Alex. You actually believe that, don't you? Look at him and tell me that isn't what you see. Jacoby looked at Tristan and no, actually, this is Alex's point of view. Then back at Alex. I see someone in pain. I see someone desperate for the pain to end. So desperate, he'll try anything, even something he knows deep down isn't doing any good. Well, that isn't what I see. I'm staying. Tristan is staying. We're staying until that wall is built and he's better. I told you before, you're free to leave. I'm staying. I told you, Alex, I'm not abandoning tech. Then go keep busy. I have to see to his injuries. I should have had you get us heals, Alex grumbled as he headed for Tristan. He was a few hundred feet from the house when Ealas came out of it, carrying one of the unged jar. Their eyes met and her ears canted in the negative. Alex stopped and realized she was right. Forcing himself on Tristan wouldn't help either of them. He should have been angry that she had a rapport with him. He wanted to be angry, but in the end, he was just happy there was one person here Tristan seemed to be willing to listen to, even if it wasn't him. And she hadn't looked angry, so she wasn't about to tell them to leave over the fight. At least that was one fight Alex didn't need to worry about. The one he did have to was what the town folks were going. The one, okay. The one he afterward, the one he did have to. The one he had to. The one he had to was what the townsfolk were going to demand in reparation for the people Tristan hurt. He found them in the town center. Benches had been brought out and they were seated on them, speaking excitedly as they applied the green unguent onto the wounds, or had someone apply it. They spoke too quickly for Alex to make any of it out, but the tone wasn't somber as Alex expected, and the people around them listened with rapt attention. Alex found Eric talking with a young Somalian, mimicking a fight as he spoke. He stopped once he noticed Alex, told the youth something, and shooed them away. What are you doing? Alex asked. Telling them to fight? Oh, this is... What are you doing? Alex asked. Telling them to fight? You told them how Tristan beat up a bunch of the people here? Alex looked at the man suspiciously. Rigerick canted his head. I tell them how hard everyone fight. They lost. They got hurt, some of them badly. He indicated a woman who had a splint on her leg, on top of the deep cuts being tended to. I'd expect everyone here to be angry. You fight, you get hurt. Rigerick shrugged and indicated Alex's chest. You know. For the first time, Alex wished he'd put a shirt on. Those scars were a history of what he'd paid for to be with Tristan. He didn't like they were compared to a bunch of people who just lost a fight. So what? They're happy they lost? Rigerick's ears twitched. Some of it matched the affirmative, but there was more to the movement Alex didn't recognize. Tristan aggressor. Tristan strong. The Somalian looked at Alex expectantly. Yes, he answered, not bothering with nodding. Rigerick indicated the injured. They fight strong aggressor. They strong too. So, by fighting Tristan, they demonstrated how how strong they are. They weren't looking to win, just to be able to get a few cuts in before they being pounded was enough. Rigoric's ears twitch in affirmative. You didn't fight him. Rigoric watched Alex. I'm not that strong. Alex thought he detected a trace of shame in the voice, but he looked around, only now noticed that everyone injured was older. If what he'd worked out about Somalian fur turning white with age was accurate. Only the older, more experienced fighters had gone up against Tristan. I still don't get it. Tristan can't be the only strong fighter here. Not with not with the cuts he got. I don't see them fight all the time. I mean, most of them aren't even taking part in the training. Tristan is, he looked up, silently mouthing words, one who wins. He shook his head, then said a word and looked expectantly at Alex again. I have no idea what you just said. He tried to repeat it. He'd heard it and could hear each part in his head cut up cut cut up in code sections so he could assign meaning to them, but his throat wasn't built to make a lot of the sounds Somalians used. Fight with little, Rigoric said, still wins. He shook his head, raised his voice, and spoke with clear annoyance. Alex heard Sarto's name, then she exited a home, answering him. They exchanged word. Sarta seemed to muse, even with the conversation, at a normal pace. Alex only understood a few words, and none that shed light on what they said. When she reached them, a younger man who'd been seated on a bench watching Eric and Alex stood and indicated the vacated spot. She thanked him and sat. She said she wasn't one of the town's leader, but people still treated her with deference. Alex wondered if it was due to her age and if Eric's parents' authority over the younger folks was because of her or something he'd earned on his own. You have questions. She sounded out of breath. Rigoric said something, but she shushed him with a gesture. Rigoric called Tristan something he's having trouble explaining. Her ears twitched in the affirmative, but didn't say anything. Alex looked at Rigoric, but his ear twitched in the negative. Alex sighed. You're going to force me to mangle your language, aren't you? She smiled, full of teeth. I have heard you practicing. This will be more of that. He said it as best as he could, and she nodded. That is better than many who take pride in how they plunder my language, how they butcher my language, how they say it wrong to speak like we do. The word is used to describe some of our people who believe that all this is a hindrance to their survival. She motioned around them. The town? That, the people, the technology. Alex raised an eyebrow. She chuckled. We have little because technology is expensive, and we do not need most of it. They believe that any but the most basic of technology is a hindrance. It erodes our will to survive, makes us soft. They think Tristan is one of those, what, survivalists? She mouthed the word, thinking. That is a good word for them. Yes, they see him as such. He sleeps by his wall instead of in the house, or in your hover. He kills small animals with his claws. Alex wondered how he'd missed the hunting. Those are things survivalists do? The ear twitched. They lived in the forest, the mountains, anywhere people don't live. They stay small. One family, maybe two. They hunt for their food with claws and little else. They make what they need. Some have their own language. Have nothing to do with others. Alex shook his head. Tristan is nothing like that. He has had a home. He loves technology, knows more about it than most people I know, more than me. He has nothing to do with people like those. He opened his mouth to add more, but considered their sleeping arrangement. On the floor, even when there was a bed. The showers were as cold as was bearable. Alex had figured it was because of his fur, but water in stream would be cold. Food was minimal unless Alex cooked something, and Tristan always seemed put out when he did. Tristan preferred to survive on nutrient bars. Then there were the jobs Tristan had taken. Those away from the cities, when Tristan had spent time in the forest with Emil. Alex thought that was roughing it, but he'd been allowed a tent on those following jobs. Tristan had thrown all that out. Alex had been forced to sleep on the ground. Even being allowed a blanket had been a fight, and in the end, it only relented because Alex didn't have fur. Tristan did have a habit of going to the minimalist route when it came to life. Was that because of his upbringing? He'd mentioned growing up in a forest, and only his father and brothers seemed to have been close family. She was watching him, silent, letting him think. So there's what? Honor in finding one of those survivalists and not getting killed? They are tough, fight hard. They think every fight must be to the death. Do any of them realize that if I hadn't stopped it, Tristan would have gone around killing each of them? She shrugged. They lived. They can tell how they fought. They can show the scars they gain as proof of the fight. Say how they could have won. Alex snorted and watched the group. Those tending the injured used care, reverence. None of those had the kind of scars the fighters had, even if some looked to be a match in age. As he watched one of the women being tended by a younger man and woman, she spoke to them, but they wouldn't look up at her. When she stood and walked away, they followed her, the man's excitement clear for everyone to see. He decided not to think about what they were going to do, about how he'd react if he'd been tending Tristan, and such an invitation had been made. Fuck, he missed being touched that way. You know what, that's different. She was watching him again, nostrils flaring. Great, now she knew exactly where his mind had gone. Rigoric was unreadable at the moment. So, I don't have to worry about any of them trying to get in some revenge? Find him while he's sleeping and try to hurt him? She tilted her head, in a way inquisitive, in the way inquisitive Somalians did. Not many humans fighters take well to the kind of beating they received. They'd want to prove they're better, even if it meant an ambush or ganging up on him. Pride is a powerful thing with us. Her ear twitched in the negative. If one wants to test themselves again against him, it will be when he's awake. If they have friends, it will be to provide encouragement, but they won't. Your friend keeps apart from us. They will respect that. They will respect that he's doing what he's doing and what he's trying to gain. Alex shook his head. You people are strange. She smiled. Many humans say the same. It is what makes them come to Somalia, to see something stranger than them, she sagged. It is what makes the corporation look at Somalia. Come here. They should leave all of you alone, Alex whispered to himself. He turned to leave and stopped. Do you mind if I talk with you again when I'm not training Rigoric and his friends? Everything I know about your people comes from the net, and that isn't accurate. Ehalas told me a few things about the aspect, but I'd like to learn more about you as people. I thought you wanted to leave, she said. The other human, Jacoby, doesn't like being here. I have to wait until Tristan's done, and I get the feeling it's going to take longer than I expected. Alex chuckled. To be fair, I expected you to only be here a couple of days, and not close to 2 months. We've already been here. When he began observing them, it had been to gain information to use if he had to force their cooperation on something. But he'd noticed that only his Somalian example that but he'd noticed that his only Somalian example before being here, was so human he couldn't use anything from that as a frame of reference. And now that Alex was confident townsfolk wouldn't be a problem, he finally was curious about who they were. That none of them none of the research he'd read had bothered with the people, just the stories about them. Wait, what? She studied him, ears unmoving, face still. Come and ask your question, she said finally, and I will decide if you should know us. With a nod, he headed back to the house for questions and to see if Tristan was better. Headed to a house for questions and to see if Tristan was better. And that concludes chapter 19 of Once Broken. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe. Hit the bell. If you want to read the story and the other books in the series, they are available at all major e-retailer. And if you want to support me instead, that is on my Patreon, where you can get access to basically everything else I've written. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.